Hi there, everybody. This is Ryan here, just to do my quick review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, and I'm hoping it's quick. The last couple of tries of this, it's ended up being over 20 minutes. I really don't want to bore you guys. Anyways, this is the Samsung Galaxy i317. This is the one on Bell, so it's the quad-core with LTE. So let's dive into it. Really nice device. Automatically, it's a 5.5-inch screen at 720 by 1280, and it's got a Gorilla Glass protection. The internals are a 1.6 quad-core processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM, and if that's not enough for you, which some people may argue about that, it's got the slot for the micro SD, which I believe goes up to 64 gigs in this model. We also have back here is a 3100 milliamp battery. Just a powerhouse of battery. And also, what's really cool in the back, we have this idea that this is potentially the wireless charging. See how the contacts kind of line up? And the accessories come out. That'd be kind of neat. 8 megapixel camera in the back, 2 megapixel camera in the front. And we'll talk about those cameras a little on down the road. And a really big speaker. It doesn't look like much, but holy crap, that's a loud speaker. Okay, so thinking about the build of this thing, I'm going to put it back together here. It's nice solid build. It doesn't really feel cheap. The back's a little flimsy-ish. What I don't like is it has a little bump here. Now Tom says his doesn't, but it feels like it's not in. Like there's a tab that it didn't go into, but the tabs are here and here, so I don't know why that's there. And it's just, if you take it off, it feels like there's a bump there. So one tiny little spot. Yeah. So 5.5-inch screen. Compare that to a Galaxy S3. The Galaxy S3, pretty much the whole thing of the Galaxy S3 fits within that size there. Using it, you pick it up and you automatically go like, wow, that's a big phone. And there's a lot of jokes I can make about holding something this big in my hands, but you quickly forget about that and then use it for a while and then go back to the S3 and go, oh man, this is kind of small now. Kind of like how we make fun of the iPhone users, you know, trying to go and use something that small again. Okay, so let's talk about this guy here. So talked about the outside. Inside we have Jelly Bean running the Samsung TouchWiz, which I'm not a fan of, but I'll get to that. But the greatest thing that we have about this phone and why you'd want this one of the features of it is it has the pen. Really cool feature that, you know, it knows when it pulls it out, and it pops as a special page. The special page can be triggered by whether it's, you know, headphones or a docking clip, and you can set those pages as you want. So I like that feature. It knows what's in, knows when it's out, changes accordingly. So, and again, you can see down at the bottom here we have the home screen dots, you know, and the pen goes away. And if I put the pen back in, that little pen one goes away. So speaking of the pen, excellent pen. They really did a number on making sure this thing is felt a little better. The way I'm holding it, I find it does scrape my my hand a little bit with that little edge there, but oh well. But we have a really good hover feature, and I don't know if you can see this hover feature. You know, a little dot that goes by. And again, without touching the screen, I can go to certain areas and cause it to scroll without having to do any actual touching it. You know, scroll that way. Very nice. Or I can just drag. And what's nice is that compared to the old Palm one, it doesn't really feel like it's scratching against the screen. It actually feels like I'm drawing on the screen. It actually has a really good drawing feature. What we also have on it as well is the keyboard down here that we can write on. Right, go in there. So we have a keyboard, or I can write. Very much like your standard old Palm stuff, just without graffiti. Except that if you, oops, it can make some mistakes. I think it's a little tricky sometimes trying to correct that mistake. Oh. So it'll take some training to get used to that. Speaking of training, one of the things that is supposed to be really cool is the note program that we have here to making, just sketching things out. All right, I can write on here. I can draw Galaxy Note 2 thoughts, and draw. Again, it's something I'm not used to, so again, I need to train myself to use it properly, to draw on, otherwise I'm just doodling. So what we can do with this as well is, you click the button on the pen. If you hold it down, it takes a screenshot. A little slower than if we did it with the Palm Swipe, and again, we can say, right on here. And then I could say, okay, well, save that somewhere, to my screenshot spot, wherever. What you can also do is hold down the pen and then just draw a little circle there. Take a second or so, and just that little snippet will be going. Now, you're supposed to use one of these things at the bottom. If you fail to touch one of those things at the bottom, it eventually kind of goes away, and you don't really know whatever happens to it. It took me a while to sort of figure out what actually happens to it, because it says copy to clipboard. So what do I do? So if I'm going to write on here, let me write on here. And it feels very fluid writing on this. I have to go to my clipboard, and then I get a list of some of the things that I was snipping around with earlier. So take that in there. Whoops. Alright, and I have to move things around if I wanted them in there, or whatever it be. So that's some of the cool features of notes. And again, I'm just not used to it, so again, more novelty. The theme of this review is going to be that it's all very novel and not really specifically useful. You really have to train yourself to make it useful. Another cool feature we have is we could take a look at it and say, okay, here's my calendar. Let's go into drawing mode of my calendar, and I can have little sketches on my month. Make sure to do this. I make sure that last day or something, I can have these little notes without having to make an event. Sometimes that's a little harder to do. So put it back into regular mode, or I can put it in the draw mode. I can leave it in draw mode, but turn off the pen input, and I can just go different month to month, and then the little notes stay on top. So very cool little features. The one that I really don't play around with at all is their paper artist, and I won't even get into it just because it's very cheesy. Hardly useful at all. I mean, I kids might find it, high school kids might find it cool. I just don't. Okay, so aside from that, it's got a lot of TouchWiz. It's got, if you start flipping through them, S Note, S Planner, all sorts of, this paper artist thing, this S Suggest, S Voice, Video Hub, all these Samsung things, and even Samsung apps. This is their app program, kind of like the marketplace. And if I click on it, it says I always have one download available, but doesn't ever let me download it. I don't know it doesn't tell me what it is. So I don't know what's up with that. I'm just going to try to log in now, but it won't. Must be a geographic restriction or something. I don't know. It's just kind of buggy, and I just don't like it. So I would like to root it and get rid of Samsung everything. However, that's kind of the point of having the pen, is having all those kind of cool features. Okay, so other things I do and don't like about it. Don't like about it is the gallery app. I was hoping for a standard gallery app, but this is slow. This is absolutely painstakingly slow. For some reason, it's syncing my Dropbox pictures and my Picasa pictures, and I've turned those features off in the sync app, and it must be somewhere else in there, but I just can't figure it out. And because I have so many, it just takes forever to do anything in here. So if I click one, again, just achingly slow. Forget trying to do these really cool features where I want to see the gallery in these 3D modes, you know, or the spiral mode. It's just, oh, talk about slow and painful. And again, well, again, that's comparatively to the rest of the device because it's fast, it's sleek, it runs really cleanly. So you get something like that, it's almost a deal breaker. The camera itself, nothing new here. It's a great 8 megapixel camera that we see in the Galaxy S3. It's got HDR mode. It's got really cool HDR strong or normal mode, which I like. I'm an HDR fan. But everything else is pretty well standard. We have all those features like, you know, like you can single shot, burst modes, best face, you know, face detection, all those kind of cool features. So nothing really new on that front here. Everything you're going to be new about is all the pen related stuff, and then it's on a bigger screen. So and what I find is a lot of that stuff is more novelty than it is usefulness. So what do I really like about it? Fast. It absolutely is absolutely fast. The battery life is phenomenal. Like 3100 milliamp hour battery. I mean, it is a little bit heavier, and that's the weight of the battery, but it will last a long time. Ask Tom about his, and he tells you, like, he uses it all day long, and he still have half a battery life left. Performance is phenomenal. I can go into games, heavier games, you know, something like Star Wars, Angry Birds. I've actually started playing this, 20 minutes ago, before I started this video, and did all the other apps, and it still picks up just where it left off. I can play, a little heavier, more intense game, Dead Trigger, and again, still where I left off. Really good, very responsive, no complaints here. So that's why an app like the camera app is really, really slow. It stands out a heck of a lot greater. The screen is phenomenal. You probably couldn't tell in that game. This is pretty dark. Speaking of dark, I've had to turn the brightness down on this a lot to make sure I can film it properly. But the quality on the screen is amazing. Let's hope this YouTube video HD clip works. But it's a phenomenal screen, big screen that lets you watch your movies. Makes you really feel like you're watching there. So you're lying down in bed watching a movie with the headphones on. You're watching the movie. You're part of it there. It's not working there. And then also really, really loud speaker. Like I have it pretty well down to one of the lowest settings it can go to, and it's still loud. So I like this phone. I'm having a tough time saying whether or not I need the features versus their novelty features. If you're a doodler, you're somebody that takes a lot of notes, definitely this is the device for you. The fact that it's a quad-core processor, 2 gigs of RAM, for as an Android device, that's really top-of-the-line stuff. But again, I have a hard time just trying to justify the price point for those features, but with the pen. So I'd like to find somewhere in between these two guys. And there's that rumor of the Galaxy S3 with a pen that's coming out. Who knows? Maybe I'd go for that. But yeah, so this is the device. I'll have a full review up on the site. Thanks for watching, everybody.